Yeah, let's go. I'm unstoppable, do the impossible. I'm irresponsible, shit, I'm phenomenal. I got an arsenal, I'm dropping bombs, you know. No, I'm not stopping, no. Conquer the obstacle. To the top, here I go, think I'm chosen to be the king of rock, think the people have spoken. I can hear the tick-tock of the clock, I'm in motion. So now I'm gonna pop, causing all this commotion.
Yeah, sometimes I think that I'm unstoppable.
Hello and herzlich willkommen zum Auf die Fresse, the WXW review podcast in English. I'm Ian Hamilton, joined as always by Mike Kilby. And Mike, been a bit of a quiet month in WXW, all eyes elsewhere in Germany reviews, but England, we've gone pretty far, at least at the time of recording. But how have you been the last few weeks?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been a little bit quiet on the wrestling front, at least for me. But I've been doing a few sort of rewatches of some things that I've not rewatches, but we're watching a few things that I've never seen before, which has been quite good fun. I've been watching quite a lot of ECW hardcore TV. I've been watching. I don't know really why, but it's one of these things. It's just been a hole in my viewing. I've just never really watched any ECW, so that's what I've mostly been doing the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, been a fair bit of downtime. I mean, with this episode, we're going to go back at, I guess I'd say, one of the feuds in recent WXW which gets characterized promotion. We're going to go back to 2016 to Balkan, Cow 2017, Cow 2018, a couple of matches afterwards. But Juve became tag champions not too long after they feuded over the title. But of course, WALTER and Ilja Dragunov, they're much bigger places now. But yeah, we picked 5 matches for their history. But this is where it all started. This is where the groundwork was laid.
Yeah, so yeah, I think this was something we both wanted to. We both sort of, because a couple of years ago we did do a sort of a look back at sort of an old show, but I feel like it's timely. It's been enough years. I think enough time has passed, and I think really this is the feud which captured the world's imagination. I think with WXW, it's the two. I don't think it's an overreaction to say it's the two biggest wrestlers WXW's ever produced, as in like purely produced. WALTER and Ilja Dragunov, they're the great success story of the European wrestling boom, and they were kicking off as the boom was kicking off, and kind of as we maybe will see, the matches they had were timeless. And I feel that I wanted to look back at them not only sort of as a purely nostalgic thing, but for me personally, it was I wanted to see do they still hold up? We're knocking on, I think, probably 6 or 7 years. I think for most of these, do they still hold up in 2024 when maybe that style has been aped a little bit by others, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like the whole thing.
Yeah.
Another joke for time was, the Southern American scene was pretty much Brit-res, but badly copied. That's a whole feud which took over Twitter at the time, which we're not going to get into and reignite, but it's kind of, love matches you'll see in the moment were great, and then on rewatch, even a year or two, let alone not where we are now, come to 9 years for some of these. It's like, do they hold up? Do they not? So we'll get going. The first match was in the 15th anniversary tour in Balkan. So this was September 19th, 2015. This is part of the batch that WXW now 2.0 put up on YouTube. German-only commentary, so that's a barrier for you. Well, that's what it was. They didn't do English commentary for a lot of these shows then. But
I guess it's Sebastian Hollnickel and somebody else. I can't work out who the other person is.
Let me check, because I did a review on this not too long ago, and I thought it was Christian Bischoff, but
it might have been Christian Bischoff actually. But it's definitely Hollnickel. You can definitely tell it's him.
Yeah, Sebastian was doing a lot for comms at that time, but yeah. So this was the first match they'd had. They had done again, looking cage match research on Walter's page. When type in Ilja, you'll get all the results. one of these two guys has changed the name, which is an absolute bit of a black spot in cage match, but it is what it is. You take out both in 2013 shortcut and a 6-man tag in at Fan 2015. This is their first match. It's of the Stadthalle Vennerhof in Borken. WXW's run a few times since. This is the first one, and it started to mean to go on, lads. Chops early on, but this felt from me off like they were cramming in a lot. I mean, cage matches bell times like 12 minutes 30, so you're not getting like the long class, but it's also not a quick 5-minute squash, but they did a lot in there. And you could get the things from the start. Walter obviously a much bigger wrestler. Ilja, so Ilja, his game plan from day one was get Walter off his feet. If you can't stand, you can't hit, which is wrestling 101 really. And I think pretty early on, one of the things that caught me out was like torpedo Moscow to the knee, which he's been known to use his head in some weird ways, but that was a bit of a surprise one. In a lot of this match, and I think this very early, he was using that torpedo Moscow a lot, like to the point of spamming to points.
He was, and I think this is a very raw Ilja, because I feel like Ilja didn't really start picking it up until very late in sort of I think mid to late 2016, and this is still a year and a half away. Well, I said it's at least half a year away from that. There's obviously a lot of because at this moment Ilja would have been part of Cerberus.
Yeah, Adam Polak at ringside, which plays into finish.
Yeah, so he's alongside Adam Polak, and this is pre-Ringkampf for Walter.
Yeah,
it's Big Daddy Walter for a start. Quite
very jarring if you've never seen them in either of these incarnations.
I'm also I quite enjoyed Walter's black and green trunks that said "Own the mat" in all caps. I thought they were quite interesting. Also weird was Walter wearing knee pads, which I found quite unusual. I thought was quite unusual in comparison thing. The other sort of non-wrestling thing I wanted to point out was Shooter Schultz, Felix Schultz was referee. Massive mullet.
Yes. I mean, we all have hairstyles. I don't have anymore, but we all have hairstyles we weren't exactly proud of. And some do date or age better than others. Yeah, this one very much of its time.
Yeah, I wonder if Shooter regrets that mullet, but I just saw that and I was like, what on earth is that, Shooter? But it's fine. I love Shooter. I think he's one of the best referees in the world. But come on, man, that was a bit of a fashion faux pas. But
we all have
we've all had them. Yeah.
Yeah. So the end of this one came. Pollock pulls out referee when Ilja punched out. Walter threatened and chased. Walter threatened Polak. Dragunov chased after him, get a double count out. If you want to quibble, like count wasn't restart, but it is what it was. They brawled for back, and that's it. So again, to actually now, we don't have a shotgun, so Lord knows what was filling in the blanks. But that was the first singles match. The next one isn't on WXW now, unfortunately. This would have been Shotgun Plus 284 back when they were taping Shotguns in the Club Bahnhof Ehrenfeld in Cologne. This was in the build-up to 2017 16 Karat Gold. I've got, just going back to my review there. So this was, it's like one of the last Shotguns before Karat, and very storyline heavy finish. So obviously by this point, Walter was in Ringkampf, Cerberus was a distant memory. Adam Polak came out to try, and I guess the intimation was drug Ilja. He offered him a pill, was slapped away, and then distraction was and Walter grabbing Ilja Gajira clutch. And there's your stoppage, but it worked out. And if you're going to do a dry run of what ended up being the Karat final, makes sense not to give away a clean finish.
Exactly. And I think you mentioned Cerberus, so this effectively, Karat 17 was the end of Cerberus, effectively, and it was the run-in into becoming... It was the run-in to basically Ilja breaking off for himself, because we'll go into the tournament. So this match is effectively the 27. Sorry, not effectively. It is the 2017 final. Ilya in his first round match, he beat Avalanche or Robert Dreisker. I think actually what I really enjoyed this match when I first I was there. This was my first WXW event. Fun enough. This was a really good fun match live. I think Ilya and Dreisker have excellent chemistry with each other. I think because of the whole my belief that Dreisker is basically one of the best trained set sort of. He's one of the best like non hardcore slash outside the ring wrestlers. I think he does very well in sort of strange settings, and this Ilya match has a lot of that from what I remember. That was effectively the closure of Cerberus, that match, and then on the end of night one, Walter in his first round, he beats David Starr in one of the umpteen Walter David Starr matches, which have been talked about ad infinitum by many people, but we'll move on from there. Day two, Ilya beats Tim Thatcher in the quarterfinal, whereas Walter beats Marius Alani. And then the semi-finals, we have Ilya going over John Klinger in a really good match. I remember it being really thing. And I mentioned it, I think, in our Klinger tribute. After that match, Klinger comes up to the balcony. He's spitting blood. He's like that. That's how much he left in the ring for that match. And then Walter beats Matt Riddle in the semi-final to set up the final, the biggest match that could possibly have happened in WXW. It could be the crowning of Walter as the ace of WXW, or the birth of a new star in Ilja Dragunov.
Yeah, so going for the final, Ilya Blood, Walt Hayes goes out of ring camp.
Yep.
Similar start of Bork, going to chops. I mean, again, Coward finals, both these guys had 10-minute matches early in the night, but finals for Coward never typically go that long. And again, just threw bombs me off. And for me, one of the first things I vividly remember, and if you go back and review what's on the website, for some reason tiny thumbnail screenshot, but the chops on Ilya, like Ilya marks up really well if you're into that kind of thing. But I was just shot, and this must have been pretty early in the match where like his pectoral shoulder area is just absolutely black and blue.
I think
that's at the end of the weekend as well.
In this match, I think Ilya he gets a chop to if I say the clavicle, he gets chopped right underneath his right at the top of his in between his sternum and sort of his collarbone. He gets chopped there, and I think he basically worked out after that if I get chopped here, I go purple, because every single match that we go on for, and obviously we're going to go through some more, every single match, Walter
it's
always does
right
a chop.
shoulder area.
There's one spot on his chest where it connects perfectly, and from then on, and I'll be honest, towards the end of this match, like Ilya's chest looks like ground beef.
Yep.
Like it looks like mince. It's awful. Yeah, it's yeah, we'll carry on. But yeah, that's the there's a sweet spot, I think, where he's got on his sort of pec, and yeah, there's a spot which we'll go on to very shortly.
It's a very weird party piece to have and to find out. Yeah, that's for sure. But
exactly.
But yeah, so starting match again. Walter's for chops was the big thing. Ilya's having to dig deep for all the power moves, and was just one spot mismatch which grew. Torpedo Moscow. Ilya keeps using it. Torpedo Moscow, basically Walter's boot. Like, what the absolute hell? And I was a little bit late in the match with Alan and Rico on commentary. This is Kobashi Sasaki for Tokyo Dome all over again.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's like just absolutely brutal, but in a good way.
It's exactly what that match would be if it took place in 2017.
Yep.
It's and that's not a cheap saying it's a cheap copy at all. It's just exactly what that match. And I think Sasaki Kobashi is probably one. I think up until 2005, it was the greatest match ever to take place. And I think that this is basically that match if it was done 15 years later.
I mean, this one where in the moment it was lightning in a bottle. In finish, just to tick that off, Walter used to sit out Tombstone. Ilya kicked out, and then one more torpedo Moscow got the win. Instant classic rings, the match of the year for especially in Europe. And like I say, the birth of a star in Ilya, and we talked through one recent episodes with the Bad Bones tribute. What came from there. We had the title shot, came up short, and end of 2017, Ilya pretty much written out WXW.
Yeah, and he was sort of written out. But I think going back to 2017, I think genuinely, it was, I rewatched this again literally last night, and obviously I've seen this match. I've probably seen this match 4 to 5 times. I saw it live. Was very lucky I got to see it live. Little bit of a smug face there, but I watched this again last night, and I was biting on every single pinfall, and it's for me it's like it's this is one of them matches that for me it's life affirming, like that's the sort of wrestling that is like, yeah, this is why we come to do these things, and it's not just why we go to WXW, why we go to Oberhausen. It's just this is the thing which makes you go, yeah, that's the stuff. It's transcendent, I did like it's just a transcendent experience in professional wrestling, and I think that's I I think sort of having rewatched it again yesterday, I think I'm probably going to end up rewatching it again about 6 more times this year, because I just think it's so bloody good. The build over the weekend, the sort of the birth of a star. There's the commentary is excellent. It's got Rico, it's got Alan Farrell, it's got there's that first chop that Walter does from the outside, and I put a clip of it on Twitter where he basically Ilya kind of does 2 not soft ones, but they don't make the noise, and then Walter chops him on the outside, and it's like Indiana Jones has cracked him with the whip. That's the good stuff, man, and it's just a wonderful thing, and I genuinely think it has to be one of the best matches. I think if for me it is the best match that they have as ever. I think it's the best match either of them have had. And it was effectively the first big one they did.
Yep. Because you had Balkan was town show. This was the first big time main event. The centerpiece of the entire weekend. They can go on about the title match, but this was what the whole weekend built to.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people credit 2016 Carrot for being the sort of the arrival of WXW at the top table of the indie market, but for me this is WXW taking not sitting at the top table. This is WXW sitting at the head of the table of sort of the indie wrestling, and this is the start of WXW being the best promotion in the world, probably outside of New Japan. I feel in this time period.
Yeah. Say skip forward a year. I mean, we can touch through the title shot, the near misses. Ilya being sent packing despondent at the end of 2017.
The birth of Rise.
Birth of Rise. Yeah, may as well cover that, because this touches into what we have in Carrot.
Yeah.
So 2017, Bad Bones kind of meandering a bit, shall we say, kind of loose end. And then it's a shock at the top of Superstars 2017, where we had the masked men, Chris Colin, Pete Bounce, even Kiev, Tarkan Aslan, Lucky Kid, invade WXW, pretty much take over the scene. But it was shortcut to the top 2017, where you had Bad Bones start with the number 1, number 2, come out injured, and then he's part of the final 4. Him, David Starr, Bounce, and Kiev. Star's thrown out, and Bones comes out back out with a t-shirt on, and then all of a sudden Kiev and Bouncer jump over the top, eliminate themselves. Off comes the t-shirt. Bad Bones got a Rise t-shirt. He's the leader of Rise. He wins the title from Ian Simmons at not sure the 2 opener, Fight Forever 2 opener. And so you have Bad Bones and essentially Ilja Dragunov was the feud, which wrapped up in 2017. We talked about that tribute episode with Damak turning on pretty much everyone to join Rise, costing Ilja that 1 month. Against little mums would stick with me in live events where that was my first live at WXW as well in Germany. Mac turning on Ilja.
Oh, really?
I did the London one, but Tagfest 2017 was my first German experience. Yeah.
Okay.
So we had that with he bell shot to Bones, turn around to Tassilo. Do you intervene? Yes. Fuck. Ring the bell, and then we had the reunification of Cerberus one night only the next day.
Yep.
End of the year, the 17th anniversary show, Ilja had one more match, left in a bloody heap, and written out like he's retired. And he's hide no hair of him. And then Walter gets a big title match for Carrot 2018. And it's the whole thing of, well, I'm going to have my stipulation, but I'm not going to tell you. I remember watching the Shotgun going in. It's like, I'm going to tell the stipulation on the night. And we talk about our favourite match, like our comfort moments. And I hope this comes to on feet because we actually put this up unedited. So if we get copyright struck, well, to hell of it, we won't be on YouTube for this episode. But there's one moment every time it pops up on my YouTube, the hairs on my arms, I get goosebumps, the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. Couldn't play it now, so if you don't know, you'll know soon.
John, die ganze Zeit warst du uns einen Schritt voraus. Doch seit 17th Anniversary ist das nicht mehr so. Ich schulde jemandem einen Gefallen. Dieses Match ist ein Freeway Dance.
So that was a moment where everyone had been kept in the dark. Commentary, Alan and Jeremy, they were given an envelope to open. Pretty much as this was going on. Everyone was caught by surprise, except I think it was Chris Brooks who stumbled into Ilja backstage.
Chris Brooks was about to walk into a room and he was pushed out of the room, like physically pushed out of the room, and it was like, you cannot be in there. Another person I do know, I won't reveal their name because I'm not sure if they were supposed to tell me it, but someone who I know who works for WXW, he worked for WXW as a member of the crew. He said that he was stood backstage and Jacoby, obviously Christian Jacoby, who masterminded this wonderful storyline. Jacoby effectively said, you need to turn around immediately or you will be fired and you'll never work for us again.
That was the version I heard of Chris Brooks, but he wanted to say, you need to go or you're gone pretty much. I don't know about the two stories conflated, but yeah.
I think there's multiple stories, but this story is what I was told by this particular person on that day, and the Brooks story I think I heard the following day pretty much the same as well. So yeah, so effectively this was kept secret from as far as I understand, the people who knew were the people in the ring, the production staff, a handful of the production staff, and obviously that was it. And they kept it from everybody. And the
surprise is great.
The thing is it was such a Route One thing to do. Like, obviously you bring Ilja back then, but there was so much there was heading. So we didn't really mention it, but on the shotgun going into the anniversary show, they sort of did a Ilya 2 or 3 part documentary, and it was sort of like Ilya talking about his family. I've got my kid, I've got Konstantin, I've got, I live in Dresden. It was difficult for me growing up. We had nothing. I worked at a Pizza Hut. I worked for Domino's Pizza whilst scraping enough money together to go to wrestling training with. Is it Rick Baxter and the Finger Club?
The graphic, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, it was also like such a lovely narrative being built up, and then obviously he didn't win, and then he just disappeared, and then you're like, but then everybody forgot about it, and genuinely people did forget about him. I think my good friend Dan, who we was at the press dinner, and Dan was like, we was chatting to Jacoby on the press lunch on the Friday afternoon, and Jacoby was like, so, what do you think the stipulation Walter's going to pick was going to be? And, we was all sort of speculating a few things. And then, like, my friend Dan, he was like, so what's the story with Ilya? And Jacoby was just like, we spoke to him a few weeks back, but, he's done with wrestling now. He doesn't want to do it anymore. He's just taking some time to himself. And then, there we go.
How little we knew.
Yeah, exactly. It comes across in that clip. It's just the audio. It's almost a football-esque, goal in the FA Cup's final sort of 90th minute sort of celebration. If there was ever wrestling limbs, like the term limbs, when a celebration just goes completely handle, you lose all control over your body. That is what happened in that moment. It is public record, because Matthew did it on his I think it was Cultaholic podcast, Desert Island Graps. He did say that I cried during that return, and yes, he did. So it is public record from Matthew. Thank you very much. But yeah, it was just I was just absolutely in shock when that happened. It was just, I just can't fathom it. I don't think I will ever get that. It would have to, everything from that point onwards, anything since just will never compare. And I think it would have to be, you would have to have something truly astonishing to have anything that even gets in the same room as that moment. And I don't think I think that genie's out of the bottle, genuinely.
Yeah, you'd need such a a mixture of three characters who, because we said in the last the Klinger podcast, Ilya and Waltz had their own feud as well, years past over shotgun belt. So this isn't like you have a champion event, you've got another feud come back in. Translate with German from what Walter was saying in that clip. Since 70th anniversary, you think you've been a step ahead, but I need to give a favour. This is a three-way dance, and that was Walter. On the go home shotgun, he's fed up with the champion that Bad Bones was, and the telling message at the end was, "I promise at the end of Carrot, we will have a champion to be proud of." Didn't say he would be the champion, just that he would be. He would have a champion that must be proud of. So going into the match, very early on we brought up Bryce. Bryce came on very early on to try and get the match back to 1-on-1, but Walter pressed slammed to McIntyre and Kiev, bounced to Lukia Tarkan Aslan. And you had basically
that military press that Walter does.
Yeah. High fear on it. But you had Julian Nero, Robert Dreisker, back then they would have been Monstrum Consulting, Timo from Ringkamp. Basically, despite the numerical disadvantage, they got rid of the rest of Rise, so we're left with the freeway. Klinger tries to run away. If I would do any good, still freeway dance could take the belt, we'll have another one. But we end up doing kind of your stereotypical freeway, but it was a lot more oomph behind it. We go to Klinger for a while, but then it was Walter Ilya, which we've seen with talking to this episode, really damn good. But very early on, that right shoulder carved up, bloodied again. Ilya's party piece, we're going to keep calling it. And yeah, I mean, just where do you go with this? Like, everyone focus on that moment, the limbs, the massive pop, but there's a hell of a match behind the bells as well.
Yeah, it definitely it's not just it's not the pop, and I think there's a bit which I enjoy where it's Ilya gets chopped in the throat halfway through the match, and like that again, it's like he's hit with a Indiana Jones whip. There's the tease of there's Bones throws Dragunov that's into the 6th row of the chairs, halfway through the match, and it's like Bones throws through people into the chairs like no other person.
Chair bowling was a sport for a while, but Bad Bones, my God, him and Chris Brooks had different techniques, but they were both spectacular in their own ways.
Well, Bones would just pick you up by your trunks and just lob, like just literally just like throw you. Mo Simpson throwing Barney out of the tavern. He used to just do that, didn't he?
Just about Ilya popping up behind him seconds later.
Well, he kind of did do that, doesn't he? But yeah, it's just again, it's this one's near enough perfect for me as well. It's just. Again, I just found myself just biting on everything, and it was just it's so satisfying to have something of that. You have such an intimate. I have such an intimate attachment to these two matches that even to this day, I watch them and like, God damn, like there's things that I'm noticing every time, and it's like, there's just the. Even if I've seen the finish hundreds, however many times before, it's just it's all. I'm still biting on the ones which are the near falls, and I feel like that's such a strength of the quality of these matches.
I think as well, you were playing off the the finale as well, the prior matches once get my teeth in. But Bad Bones he had the kill move, the shadow drive, which he never hardly bust out. And he had to, and even then Ilya kicked out. And the end, you had Bones came, 3 ways, perfectly legal. Tried to use the belt chop, didn't work. We kept going, and I'm just going to again pull up the commentary again because I think first one's watched live, well, not live, but Alan's commentary in the end, and I think he said in one of his interviews, one of the podcasts after this was pretty much all, obviously not scripted because he didn't know, but just this call finish was and the pop at the end. Again, we get copyright struck, so be it, but here we go.
Oh, Ilya taking Bones up. What's he looking for? Oh my God! Burning hammer! The burning hammer and sickle and the torpedo Moscow! He's done it! Ilya has done it! We have a new champion!
A line that was pretty much used in all of the Directory Now intros for pretty much years until they went on network. I think for a lot of people that was the moment. Never mind the Jesus match time 3-way dance, but that finale, the burning hammer, the torpedo Moscow, and that roar, and Ilya has done it. A time capsule WXW in one 20-minute match. Just absolutely delightful.
Yeah, it's and that's the thing. I think the pop at the start is obviously it's the best thing ever, but at the same time they then go on to immediately after this pop, they go on to have just this super, and I think some people are kind of not big fans of sort of 3-way dance matches really in general, but this one this one I think is one of the exceptions to that rule. I think, the bit where Klinger works out that he can. It's a three-way dance, so it's actually to his advantage. He just kicks Walter right square in the nuts halfway through, does a low blow, and it's like there's still chance for Klinger to screw over everybody because it's no DQ now, so it doesn't matter.
Yep.
It's they play with the format of the match so well, and I say the ending, obviously that call from Alan is one of the it was in the title card, as you say, for a while, and it was that was the very, very special. Very say I get like yourself. I get goosebumps whenever I hear that. We'll see that.
So moving on from Carrot 2018, and this is where things kind of go a little bit topsy turvy. So Ilya, of course, with titles, so he's defending it. The following week, pretty much.
Well, he does it the following day because he challenges. He beats Riddle.
Matt Riddle. 2 weeks later, sorry, I'm looking at just the match of Walter here. So 2 weeks later in London, back when they used to pack the place with the Tufton Park Dome, four-way match, Ilya and Walter, Travis Banks, David Starr. First, I guess, advertised title defense, shall we say? Yeah. And we covered this in another episode, but meanwhile, over in I think it was Kuttenholz, incident with Bad Bones, he's pretty much gone from the company, and any rematch or anything down that line with Bad Bones, that's completely out of picture now. So we end up with Ilja Dragunov and Walter being the big storyline going through until the summer. They did a defense in Limbach Oberfrona, non-televised event.
That's the lost match.
Yeah,
that's the lost match. If anybody has a fan cam of that show, be €20.
It might get a bit more because obviously Disc King Frankie, whoever's got the now hard drives, they'll have the missing shot.
Yeah, if it's on the hard drive somewhere, in Gelsenkirchen, then somebody needs to upload it as like a hidden gem or something, because that needs to see the world, because it's the lost match effectively, isn't it?
Yeah, they've been uploading stuff. Was it Tony Storm, Kaylee Ray, Will Ospreay, Shane Strickland? They've been uploading stuff on Twitter lately, so that could be one they could do. But the first televised defense, outside of Coward Weekend in London, Ilja Dragunov and Walter. This was at the event fair in Dresden, so Ilya's adopted hometown. And again, we've got the same kind of start. Walter's trying to ground Ilja. Really, get that home crowd smothered. Don't get the home crowd. Get them silent. Don't have him boy Ilja even more, because we've seen already Walter is, for all of his size and all of his stature, has a big trouble against Ilja in one-on-one matches. I think to this point, hasn't beaten him one-on-one. And it's kind of the same thing. Ilja going through dives, gets thrown to the post, and then that party piece comes up again, chop, 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 chop. And this was really ring camp roughhouse Walter from pretty much from the off.
Yeah, this is the debut of what I would call pissy Walter. And I love Walter, but I love pissy Walter best. And this is where you probably would have seen it more in probably the OTT thing, when Walter was basically the frustration got to the point where he's basically he basically says he's he's like, I'm the best person here, and he just goes out of control. He's like a out of control animal. And I say he's still sort of composed in the sense of like he knows when to turn it on, and he doesn't. This match starts with Felix, Shooter Schultz as ref again. It's the second shooter ref match. The Sheriff of the East, as we would call him. You do get a visual pin. So basically, there's the Shooter gets a great ref bump because I think Ilja hits the Torpedo Moscow on him, doesn't he?
Yes. So Ilja still spamming Torpedo Moscow at this point. Shooter gets caught in crossfire. Walter gets a folding powerbomb visual pin. It's Rhino
He gets
Ringer
a
who's
7.
got his fan club these days.
He's got a 7 count on the visual pin.
Yep.
But I think to go back earlier into the match, the Shooter gets takes the ref bump because I think Ilja basically he gets chopped in the corner, and he fights back wildly, but it's almost like he's blind because he just basically fights back and he just completely misses. I'm swinging my arms and I realise we're not recording video. Ilja's fighting back and he basically just flat on his face like something out of Looney Tunes, but because he's just completely knocked out 6, and I think he gets chopped in the neck or something like that, and it's like I think it's implied that his vision's not great from this point on. He then does the ref bump on Shooter. Walter gets the visual 7 count visual pin. At least 7 count. Ringer comes in. Gets a 2 count on the actual pin. He then Pissy Walter then goes and boots Ringer in the face for his protestations. Taz then comes out, head referee, and then throws the match out, doesn't he?
Yeah, too much ass kicking, match thrown out. Ilja, hometown, no hero.
Not in my city.
Not my city. We're starting the match, they restart, and they restart the match, and that looked like a horrid idea for me. Off just brings it pretty early on. Walter tees powerbomb into the crowd. Ilja scrapes free. He then gets Hoyd off the apron into the third row, which hey, more power to that wouldn't be falling off the apron, let alone the third row, but you do you. And they say, Pissy Walter just gets to the next level, tees the pile driver off the top, count the sunset bomb, Gojira clutch turn to side suplex, torpedo Moscow. Ilja, this was one where not he scraper, he survived this one. Like the number of times Walter had him beat, but we just dug deep. And Ilja came so close to losing his hometown through bravado, but he snuck it out, and we come back and do this again in 3 or 4 weeks.
Yes, and
Superstars Wrestling.
Something to remember about the finish is that throughout the match they make a thing about obviously Ilja being a hometown boy, and also about how he's trained by Axel Tischer. The finish to the match is Axel Tischer's finish, Liger Bomb.
Yeah, there
we go, and I think that's great. Another weird thing, because this is a slightly thing. So CMJ and Andy Jackson are on the call. This is Andy Jackson's first ever marquee event. Actually, I think it may even be one of his first shows.
His debut. I think on commentary, it's like, the Stars Quit Alliance, my first main event. What a main event! Good match for Action Andy Jackson.
Yeah, Action Andy Jackson. Halfway through the match, Andy calls Walter the Vienna Bull. That's a nickname that nobody's ever used before or since, as far as I'm aware.
That needs to come back. I mean, not these days. He's kind of lost a bit of weight, but it's kind of fitting. But again, I think one of these, it worked as a match because Walter and Ilja, I've never had a bad match, but adding Ilja's hometown, and in fact, you had the crowd. I mean, this probably wouldn't happen today. You had a lot of Russian flags in the crowd, interesting, which very much of its time, especially.
I don't know.
Well,
it's the East.
We'll
move on with that.
Let's not dwell on that. But again, another captured lightning moment. We then move on to Superstars Wrestling 2018. So for new fans watching, Superstars Wrestling, this isn't a format that basically runs these days. But this was basically
it's replaced by Driver Champions, effectively.
Yeah. This would be basically, how would we describe this? This would probably be Southside, but in Germany.
It's the equivalent of the it would be sort of the import heavy. These are very import heavy, family, almost family style shows in a way. Although there was these serious matches like we see, but it was always famous wrestlers from outside. They weren't famous. They were famous wrestlers from television. They wouldn't necessarily be, indie favorites. It would be This particular show had Billy Gunn on it. It had,
Oh, Billy Gunn and Emil Satoshi.
Billy Gunn and Emil Satoshi, and like I've always thought Emil Satoshi was a big guy for like Europe, and then Billy Gunn comes in and it makes him look like Curtis Chapman. You had shockingly that. So we'll go on to the match in a minute, but this Ilja Dragunov versus Walter for the Unified World Title, which would be the last one-on-one match these two would have in WXW, as far as I know.
Yep.
This was not the main event
No.
of this show. The main event of this show was Toni Storm defending the women's title against Tenille Dashwood, or Emma, from WWE, which for me was... did Tenille Dashwood have that much... cachet in 2018? I don't know.
So this is one which, because I mean, she would have been, I'm going through a cage match now, she would have left WWE back into 2017, and her 2018 would have been a dark match for Impact, a couple of Ring of Honor, bar wrestling, AIW, so touring the indies, bit of Ring of Honor, IPW back when they were a thing, Superstars Wrestling. But yeah, I think this is back when people had a lot of stock in the former Emma. And remember, she came back again after a lot more recently. It was against Amal, I think it was, in Hamburg. And it was one of the matches they played in one of the live streams. But it's like, this was very much the names from the indies who, XW names. I mean, was it the following year's Superstars was pretty much the Lucha Underground tie-in? Or was the year before?
No, that was the year before.
2017.
The other match I remember from 2018 was Dragon versus Joey Mercury. That was the other match I remember from that show.
And was one we mentioned on keeping the tribute episodes. I forget the name of the Absolute Andy Melanie Gray tag team with that ridiculously long name. Which cage match? Shame on you for not including, because it's so damn long. I would have put them in John Morrison's free line list of gimmicks to shame. But yeah, it was Jay Lethal, Lucky Kids, another one, Mil Muertes, Alexander James. It's eclectic, I think is the word used. But yeah, this was the semi-main event, and for me, this stuck out at the time as just a completely different match. So
it almost doesn't fit on this show.
Yeah.
And it doesn't fit for this audience because the other thing to know about this time period is that 80% of the shows throughout the year were standing. It was mainly standing, with usually one sort of row of seating on one of the sides or two of the sides. Superstars of Wrestling was the only show that ever went to prior to like recent years. It was the only show that ever went to Turbine and Halle 1, which is now where Carrot is held. And also, it was the only show in Oberhausen that was done as an all-seater. I think there might have been some standing at the back, but there was no standing around the ring.
Yeah, it was like kind of an arena setting.
And it's basically the setting that WXW has now, really effectively. But the audience, you see a lot of people at that show who, I think even now, if you look at that crowd, you're like, I didn't see any of those people standing around the ring at Carrot. It's people in WWE shirts. It's people, with like maybe young fans. It's almost just like they just don't get this. Really, it's a bit of a shame.
Yeah, I think as well, it's definitely what they're going for, because you're looking at, if you want to look at cage match, you see, they've got 750s for the attendance, and it's not compared to. Carrot obviously is a little bit on the lower side, but it's, like I say, a completely different audience. I mean, you're not going to get the crowds who would have seen your Billy Guns, your Joey Mercury's, hot off WWE, even Jay Lethal, for those who watch Ring of Honor. We were going after the market that didn't watch the European indies. And it's like, hey, these guys you see in Ring of Honor, these guys you see, Christopher Daniels, XTNA, current Ring of Honor at the point, Tenille Dashwood, XWE. This was pretty much your very rare chance to see them in a WXW ring, because back then they didn't, outside of the festival weekends, your imports were very spare. And
or it was people who were staying in the academy.
But so like I said, one this match really struck me bad in the tag match, Monster Consulting against Rise, really struck out like a sore thumb the line. But in terms of the match itself, though, like the trend we've seen throughout, it's been Walter laying into Ilya throughout, chops being the byword. This match, it wasn't like the final 5 minutes Walter actually connected. He was swinging, but most it was Ilya connecting, and from minute one, the game plan was stop the chop.
This is Ilya. This is Ilya on the offense. I think in this match, earlier, sort of halfway through the match, basically Walter hits Ilya so hard. He chops the ring post, doesn't he?
Yep, very early on, Dragunov works
Walter
the
chops the
hands.
ring post quite earlier, and then from that point on, Ilya's like there's a weakness. It's almost, you can almost see it's like his hands are glowing red, and he's on that hand, isn't he? And it takes you a while as a viewer to kind of work out that's what's going on.
Yeah.
Once you notice it, you're like, yeah, this is really, really good stuff. Because it basically, it's all about that hand, and it's the Walter is throwing these chops, and he can't quite seem to get them, can he? He doesn't.
The blocked or the duck.
Yeah.
He's having to change his game plan.
Every time he goes for it, he's almost backing out because he knows his hand hurts, isn't it?
Yeah. An unref pro Andy Quill keeps it's for muscle memory. It's to say this recover thoughts what he always does. And so Walt's having to change his whole mindset. And there's one point in the match where you could tell like Walter found something that clicked.
Yeah.
Ilya did a dive back into the ring, Walter caught him and magic screw, whatever you want to call it. And that was like the opening for Walter to pounce on him. The Zack Sabre Jr. the neck twist. And the high angle half crab, a la Michael Oku, that kind of the turnbuckle lines, to wrench from neck, that being at least historic weakness. And then obviously, the Gojira clutch, Ilya slips out, gets one of his own. Walter, the only way he can get up because he can't use his hands, climb the ropes, splat off the middle rope, and there's him back. But I think it's one of those where Walter had to change his game plan very early on. When he got in, but then it's the whole thing of Ilya knew almost like shit. I know he's from the chops, but not quite as strong. But he's finally getting through, and that finished just some completely different. Crucifix bomb, Fujiwara armbar leaned all the way back for Walt. Rare submission loss for him.
Yeah,
it's like if you at this point maybe tired of Ilya being glowing purple and bleeding from the chest. This was the absolute antithesis of those matches, and it worked. It wasn't like someone who'd done a dev, hey, do this, but don't. You can't use normal moves. You can't use your normal finisher. This was a match where they pretty much threw the vast majority of their normal playbooks out, and it still works to treat, even with that crowd.
Yeah, for sure. I think this one, because it doesn't take place on the one of the marquee events, one of the major shows, because it took place on Superstars. I think a lot of people just didn't really pay any attention to it, really as a match. But I think this is definitely. I think this is your favourite one. For me, it's probably. I think it might be second or third. It's neck and neck. I feel with the three-way dance. I think the three-way dance does slightly edge it for me. For obvious reasons, but yeah,
Three-way dance emotional favourite, but in terms of just for bell to bell and being like, because not being rude to either guy, a lot of their matches, people say, well, we've got the segments, they're the same. This one was completely fresh.
Yeah,
it's an absolute package. I would take these match and three-way dance end to end for the emotional attachment, but bell to bell, this one to me absolutely stomped over the rest.
Yeah, and I think it for me it's not as good as the final from 2017, but I can completely understand why this one is. I understand why this is your favorite. If that makes sense, do you know what I'm saying here? For me, it's just it doesn't. There's And I think it's possibly because I feel like I really want to rewatch this one quite soon, because I think now speaking about it, it's like I want to watch it from that point that he does that chop on that ring post, and I want to see how quickly it is that Ilya locks onto that hand. Because when I watched it, I watched it about 2 hours ago for the first time again, about 2 hours ago, and I was like, I like it, but there's about 10 minutes in the middle, and I'm like going, and I don't quite really understand what's going on here. It's a bit slow and meandering. Why is he not doing like the others? And then all of a sudden it just clicks in my head, and I'm like, his hand. It's his hand is buggered. So that's what I really want to. I'm probably going to rewatch it again in about as soon as we finish. To be honest,
And that's the beauty of on demand. It's right there for you when you want it.
Yeah, I want to sort of almost go frame by frame with this one, but I think this one is definitely a it's a hidden, it's a forgotten hit, I think, that these people had, and it doesn't get the I don't think it gets the praise that the other two do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, afterwards, this was their final match in WXW 1-on-1. Things kind of went a bit weird from throughout the rest of 2018, 2019. So,
well, at the end of they have they don't really counter each other that much beyond. There's a really brilliant tag team match in Hamburg, which is Ringkamp versus Ilya and David Starr. I think it's really good. I think it's one that is another great sort of Hamburg tag, back when they treated Hamburg well. And then kind of at the end of 2018, 2019, there's the big three letters sort of get involved, don't they?
yeah, so we're not talking about PWG, but they were part of Bowler Weekend. But yeah, so things started getting really screwy, like back in 2018. Part of the Road to Broken Rules, I guess, Shotgun Tape and Dragunov and Walter a tag team against Chris Brooks and Timothy Thatcher.
It's a really horrible heel run, and it's just like
it got worse. I mean, we did a
Yeah.
singles match in progress the following summer, Chapter 92, which I remember being really good in Manchester. Their only English singles match, if it was in front of the crowd, I'll put that big asterisk on for reasons will follow. Then back in Germany, they became a tag team, beating Aussie Open at Shock Top 2019. This was back when NXT UK was well and truly a thing. They were both part of it, and their availability was just really shoulder shrug. We don't know. So we couldn't put
UK was sorry, go on.
Yeah, it was this whole thing where had the whole was the partner promotions where they could sometimes work and sometimes be pulled. It was just this weird mess where the only thing that you knew was you're not working Ref Pro, everyone else, see what mood they're in, pretty much. So they put Dragunov and Walter as a team, and was one of these, dare I say, like a notch title WWE, you people don't deserve to know why. Like, you disrespect us, you don't deserve us, that kind of vibe throughout them.
It was that, and I think at this point WXW had realised that there is a very significant and not insignificant portion of the crowd which hated that WWE stuff. And let's face it, they've not got a lot of that group back, rightly or wrongly.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably I just don't think it was very good. It was nobody wanted to see the two biggest stars being like this, really, especially when what we what had come before. You wanted them to be working hard, and they were already out by the time.
It felt like killing time. I mean, storyline wise, they traded for titles with Aussie Open. Aussie Open back at Fan 2019 before Davis got hurt and back threw the tag titles up in the air. They were involved in Shock the top match of the last two when Timo came back. The big surprise return then, Timo's title run. But then after that, you're going to NXT UK. This is really the point. This been around the point where people were joking like Ilya was the extra member of Gallus, member from that Tag Festival weekend. But then you're looking, really the pandemic, it was the next time we met. October 2020, NXT UK, behind closed doors, so BT Studios in London, but apart from the people who were production and the workers, nobody was there. I think Dave Meltzer went full 5 on that one, which I remember being
I think
really
you went
good.
5 1/4 actually.
Cage match must have knocked the quarter off of very highly rated. I remember all of the grapple back when that up was a thing. They rated that pretty high, and this back when people still hated NXT UK. And it wasn't it's a pandemic, we didn't have anything good. No, it was a genuinely good match outside of those, outside of the stuff hanging on it. And then the following August in Orlando, Florida, for the PC, Takeover 36, Ilja beating Walter for the NXT UK belt. That kind of marked Walter's move to the main roster. And here we are now, 2024. Walter having won King of the Ring in Saudi, and if you believe the rumours, Ilja may be his opponent at that Bash in Berlin the end of next month. We'll see.
It's almost as if there's a reason why we did this show when we did. But
And not just because there's bugger all going on because of football.
yeah, no. But I think all in all, it's been these. I kind of would point to these as basically the zenith of the European boom. But they also happened, right in the middle, and it kind of was after these two after the carrot final and the 3-way dance. The carrot final was the start of the begin. This is the beginning of the real peak, and I feel that the 3-way dance was sort of like that was the end of the peak, and it was sort of slowly dropping down after that. Basically, the two tent poles really of the peak of the boom for me. What a special time! What two very, very special wrestlers, and can only nothing but admiration for them, and it's been an absolute blast to go back through.
And been a pleasure to live through it and a pleasure to relive. And all of these WrestleRenow.com, I know they've been uploading some like part promotions of Progress, Defy, Action. So nothing's going on for a couple of weeks, but if you want to jump in, get them watched, because none of these go more than 20 minutes, so you get the 5 done about an hour. So if you're prudent, if you fast forward.
That is actually a very good point. I think one of them goes 25 minutes, and that's the longest one. You can watch these in an hour and a half.
Yeah,
it's mad. Instead of watching England on Wednesday, just watch all of the Ilja Walter matches,
and come back for penalties.
Yeah. Don't bother with the match. Same with the Spain France game. Like nothing's going to happen until extra time anyway. So just watch all of these matches.
So, I know we've been moaning a little bit about current and we've gone over an hour on this, which bloody hell. But a few bits and pieces before we wrap up. So, a bunch more announcements for Tag Festival and beyond. So, 2 more teams announced for Tag Festival. We've got Shikahiro Irie and Fuminori Abe. They teamed together in 2022's Tag Festival. Narrowly missed out in the finals to Amboss on tiebreakers. So, see if they go one step further. KXS, they're also part of Tag Festival. That's Fast Time Mudo and Axel Tischer. They lost to Cash and Hector in Hamburg a few weeks back. We will do that. And we don't have a format for Tag Festival. Could be tournament like we did last time, or a round robin. We'll see.
They make it up as they go along.
Well, we'll all do that. Also for Tag Festival, Matt Cardona, he's coming off for night 1. He was, of course, originally set for the Drive of Champions. In June, he pulled out of injury, so it's the reschedule.
Does he know that we've bought all the figures from Baba stuff? So that's a reference that only about 3 people understand.
Yeah. Well, hey, if he misses night 1, we know he's disappeared and missed his last train. Other announcements, Calypso and Kelsey Reagan, they're part of Femme Fatales in October. That's the Sunday. We've got a Drunken Ambition match at the Extreme Wrestling Party show. Fuminori Abe against Fast Time Mudo. That could be extremely ugly depending on how late in the night they go.
Depends how drunk Abe is, and I know Abe likes a drink. So.
One more, we've got a double header. So WXW in, I'm going to butcher this, Dinkelsbühl next May with IWI.
Dinkelsbühl, yeah.
So this is company. Yeah.
Dinkelsbühl, I believe, is in Bavaria, isn't it?
It's around like the southeast, but it's so basically Franconia, Andy's old stomping grounds. But so IWI, Independent Wrestling Innovation, recently took over that whole area from IPW Germany. They did like a joint show from in February. IPW shut down. Current IWI champion Mark Empire is currently WXW Academy champ, so there's a bit for crossover. But so they're doing a double header, IWI first for WXW or vice versa, but 2 shows in one day. And it's WXW, I don't know, trying to get a foothold in the territory, but working together, especially the way the German scene has been running, never a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. There's no harm in.
And Mike, finally, we've got some names for the Europameister. So a couple of weeks back after the Drive Champions episode, we bemoaned, Jesus Christ, Frankfurt's next show, they've got nothing announced. Then on Twitter, they played out, who do you want to see in what countries do you want to see? Well, they did a thing, they announced 8 countries. So the Wrestling Europameisterschaft, this is the batch cap in Frankfurt on the 20th of July. These are the names we've got. We'll mention matches in the roundup in a second, but we have representing Belgium, Mike D. France has got Igel Blanc. Ilja Bloom is representing Germany. Anita Vaughan for Ireland. Paige Tahani for Hungary. Red Scorpion's back. He's doing Italy. Jacob Crane back from Big Japan representing Poland. And Luke Jacobs for England, which is a booking I was not expecting.
Right, yeah.
And of course, that's for the newly minted European title.
Yeah, again, we presume it's just going to be a conventional tournament now, because I feel like they would have probably mentioned.
If we couldn't do rounds, I think that's distant. I think that's the police being called on me for mentioning European rounds too many times on this podcast. But so we'll go through the blocks. So I say blocks. So we have announced the quarter-final matches. So we have Igel Blanc against Red Scorpion, Anita Vaughan against Luke Jacobs, which is could go one of 2 ways. Mm-hmm.
That's a pairing.
Mike D and Jacob Crane, welcome back, Jacob, and Peter Tahani against Ilja Bloom, and it's going to be blind draw for the semis and the final. So 1-night tournament. Elsewhere in the card, Baby Allison, Anil Marek, and Lavaniel against Lawrence Roman, Maggot, and Aaron Insane. And we also have the Ahura Axel Tischer match, which was, I guess, effectively scheduled from Leipzig a few months back. And all of a sudden, that Frankfurt show looks pretty stacked.
Yeah, and just with regards to the tournament, there is actually competition on the WXW Twitter page at the moment. You can basically do the if we say sort of the March Madness, you pick your winners from the first round, and then you pick your final and the winner, and whoever gets the closest out of anybody who enters can win one of them WXW jerseys. So there we go. It's worth it for that.
Yes,
just don't beat me.
Yeah, that's active WXW Germany. So basically, I want you to pick the 4 winners from the quarterfinals. So you get a point for which one that's correct, 2 points for which winners you think are going to win the semis, and then a point for who you think is going to win, who has get the most points. So you get a non-customized WXW jersey from t-shirt from Messel Wrestling. So head over to the WXW Twitter page. You'll find the threads in German, but auto-translate the thing. Yeah, well, you can see just from people's replies, what exactly is going on. So, get in, and obviously the early ones, people are going for Mike D, Igel Blanc. I think
there's some early favourites for sure.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to just quickly raise about so in the lead up, so in the weeks that have passed since we last recorded, they did actually do a sort of said like, these are the countries that these wrestlers can come from. Pick your wrestler, and pick which country you'd like to see represented. And I have to admit, I'm disappointed more people didn't try to pick San Marino, because it would have been fascinating for them to try and dig San Marinese wrestler from somewhere, or somebody from. I mean, I know in what is about to be one of the most Mike Kilby sentences ever, I do know some Luxembourg wrestlers, but
God,
I think they would have. There's a guy called Useless.
Yeah, that's the name was on the tip of my tongue.
Useless, and there's also another one. He's got a similar name. He wrestles in wrestling cult sometimes. I can't think of his name. But like when they were trying to dig like somebody from Moldova or San Marino, I think that would have been fascinating to see who they dug out for that. But wow, it's ever so coincidental that we've got wrestlers from the biggest wrestling countries in Europe.
Well, I mean,
Well, actually, you could have had Spain. You could have had Spain.
Yeah.
I think there's a very obvious wrestler for Spain that they should have maybe picked, but that's a story for another day. That's when our fantasy booking usually comes true. So we'll have to have a word.
Yeah, well, Ben V's of Tass and Felix. I mean, if it's the guy we're thinking of, I'm amazed Felix hasn't heard him, but maybe it's not an Idol TV yet. Who knows? Elsewhere, we've got.
We're on IWTV.
I don't know if he is yet, but give him time. So after that, of course, August 10th, Turbine Hall Oberhausen, that's shot at the top. We've got Nick Schreier and Mike D challenging Cash and Hector for the tag belts. Trevor Lee facing Lawrence Roman for the Unified World Wrestling title, and of course, the eponymous shortcut for the top match with Michael Oku, the only name announced. September 21st, Bielefeld for the sold-out Wheel of Wrestling 62, effectively the go-home for Tag Festival. And then, of course, Tag Festival weekend, we are looking at October, 4th, 5th, 6th?
Plus in a circle on the 3rd.
Plus in a circle on the 3rd. So announced so far, we've already gone through, we've got Timothy Thatcher, Hideki Suzuki, Gringo Loco and Ares, Thomas Shire and One Called Manders, Stephanie Mays and Bobby Guns, KXS, Irie and RB, 6 teams there already. If you're going to do if you're going to do the blocks, you're pretty much fully there, plus your tag champions. If it's going to be the 12-team tournament like last year, you're halfway there. But yeah, we're getting there. What, 3 months away, pretty much. Not that many shows, but a lot of announcements to come. But yeah,
there is also to take into account. There is also that WXW involvement in the GWF Rev Pro show in Berlin.
Yes, so
there is that, which hasn't been mentioned since. But
yeah, so this was the Bash in Berlin weekend. So let me find the date. So these are joint shows with Rev Pro, but they're announced they're going to be doing these as well. So this is at the Astra Culture House in Berlin on Friday, August 30th and Saturday, August 31st. Rev Pro and GWF doing double impact. If WXW is still involved, they haven't said which one it's going to be. They've said it's going to be a WXW title defense. Now it's down to 1 of 3 really these days. Then you've got the GWF Battlefield next day after Rev Pro goes home to 229. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting next few weeks. That's for sure. Obviously Frankfurt a couple of weeks time. Then you got Shortcut for top, and typically Shortcut is where that middle Saturday challenge. Last year Maggot won in the for Frankfurt. But yeah, very interesting to see who comes out of Shortcut, because if you're not putting names in Tag Festival, there's a lot of matches you need to fill in, especially when we moan all the time about High Perform Limited falling apart, it seems. Feels like now might be the time to get that itchy trigger finger ready to go if you're going to pay off at a Tag Festival or otherwise. So that'll wrap us up for another episode. Again, we'll probably be back late this month, early next month, with a look at the wrestling or Europa Meisterschaft from Frankfurt. But hey, if you're listening to us for the first time, first off, where the heck have you been? This is episode 41 at this point, so plenty to listen back to. You can find us, of course, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, wherever you find your podcasts. Now Google's gone. Also on YouTube, search for Back Body Drop Podcasts. Mike, anywhere to find you these days?
Not really. I'm on Twitter and Instagram and everything as @MikeKilby. I do occasionally pop up on other things, including a clip of the We Are Luton Town podcast where I compare us potentially selling a player as killing a family dog. That's a good fun one.
Jesus Christ!
Have you not seen that clip yet?
No, I haven't. No.
Well, I'll have to send that to you later. Yeah. So yeah, I'm mainly I'm on Twitter. That's my thing. I'm out and about. If you just shoot me a message, as long as you're not rude, I'll reply to you.
Yeah, you can find me at Ian Wrestling on Twitter, Big Back Body Drop on Twitter for website, Back Body Drop on Instagram, backbodydrop.com for reviews and the rest of these podcasts. As always, Mike, it's been a pleasure going over past, but we'll be back in a few weeks' time. He's Mike, and we will see you in a few weeks' time. Tschüss.
Tschüss.